We got breaking news here on the channel. Kaleb McGary signed a 2-year, $30 million extension with the Falcons earlier today. The Falcons get one of their key offensive linemen and blindside protector for Michael Penix Jr. locked up. This is a really solid move that we're going to dive into more on today's show. But this is why you subscribe, because when breaking news happens, we will get you a video. We have a great team here at Falcons Today. Rolly Falks is back for the day, but Reed got you a short earlier. We'll always have you covered. Subscribe, join the channel, and let's get today's show started. We do have a loaded show here at Falcons Today. I am Nick Roloff. We will start with the Kaleb McGary extension and dive more into that. We'll also take a look at the preseason QB plan. We know who is not going to be playing in week 1, but we'll look at who will be playing. We'll also take a look at the secondary, because this group certainly needs to be better from a year ago, and Billy Bowman, the rookie out of Oklahoma, is certainly making a name for himself. We'll take a look at that. But we're going to start with Kaleb McGary. And my initial thoughts on the extension, I'm very okay with this. I actually think it's a good move. You get an offensive tackle relatively cheap. I mean, I know $15 million a year, but this day and age, that is exactly what a solid offensive lineman is going to cost you. I remember just a couple of years ago when McGary was a free agent and we didn't even know if he was going to return to the Atlanta Falcons. He did, and now he gets an extension. This is an interesting player who is very crucial to the success of the Atlanta Falcons, and we know that he specializes in run blocking. He is mean. That is what him and Drew Dalman and Chris Lindstrom really thrived in over the past couple of years. But with Dalman gone, McGary, Lindstrom are really going to have to keep it rolling on that right side. And the part that is so fascinating for those two is that they are, to your best offensive line, they're also the two most important, because Michael Penix Jr., obviously a lefty quarterback. So when you think about righty quarterbacks and how most of them need those solid left tackles, it's why top-notch left tackles get major contracts worth $25, $30 million a year. Well, that now gets flipped to the right side for Lindstrom and McGary at right guard and right tackle, respectively. So if Atlanta feels confident and comfortable with him being the right tackle, protecting their franchise quarterback, Michael Penix Jr.'s blindside, then who am I going to argue with it? You saw the pass blocking numbers, certainly not as good as the run blocking, but he's serviceable. I would not label him as a bad right tackle. So I am very much happy with this move. And to me, this is just further sign that you are investing into Michael Penix Jr. I don't think that's a surprise that you're investing into him, but when you really need that right tackle to protect the lefty, it's a little bit interesting because, like I mentioned, everything on the offensive line is flipped. And the Falcons have, in my opinion, the best right guard in football. There's no question about that. And Chris Lindstrom, he is just so damn good at everything he does. But McGary is that key. And I know there's a lot of questions about Matthew Bergeron and then Ryan Uziel replacing Drew Dalman, but McGary is a guy that you have to lean on, and I think this front office believes that he is someone that can lead this offensive line, and you have to believe that they have the confidence in his ability to pass block because you are investing into him, and by kind of a domino effect, also investing into Michael Penix Jr. and protecting him, because nothing is more important for this franchise than the lefty QB's future and his health. So McGary being extended makes him that blindside protector for your second-year QB. So be honest with me. Grade the Kaleb McGary extension, A, B, C, D, or F. Pin comment on today's show. So yeah, we do 2 bad breaks. Scroll down, let it play, and answer the question. Topic number 2 here on the show. We're going to look at the preseason QB plan, or at least for the first week. And to really no surprise, your top 2 quarterbacks are not going to play in the preseason. Penix is not playing against the Lions. Kirk Cousins is not either. Now, this is just me speculating here. I have to imagine Kirk Cousins will not play a single snap in the preseason. Maybe I'm off on that, but why would you play him? With his contract and maybe the possibility of another QB being hurt in this month and then you being able to flip Kirk Cousins in a trade to that QB-needy team, there is just no need to risk Kirk Cousins' health by him potentially getting hurt in a preseason game. So I would not play Kirk Cousins at any of this 3 preseason games. I do think Michael Penix should absolutely get some reps. He played the most of the second half of last season. But to me, with him being such a young guy, although not that young, spent a lot of time in college, obviously, only second year in the NFL. He needs game reps. He at least needs 1 or 2 drives out there. So I would anticipate him at least playing once, or at least I would want him to play. But you're going to see a lot of Easton Stick in this first game of this upcoming weekend. Raheem Morris on the exact plan for Atlanta says Penix won't be out there, Kirk won't get out there. We'll see Easton Stick. We'll see Emory Jones. That's probably the most definitive thing that I can tell you right now. That is obviously referring to mostly this first game against the Lions. As I mentioned, we'll see what happens in the final 2 preseason games. I'm okay with this. I'm very much on the table with Morris just resting Kirk Cousins the entire August, because what's the point? I don't want to rehash the same thought here, but you cannot rest him getting hurt. But Michael Penix, I do believe you should see him at least once. Maybe not a full half, maybe a quarter, maybe a couple drives. I don't think it's smart to have a young quarterback, no matter how good they did look near the end of last season, go into the regular season, the important games, with not a lot of game experience. Because it's one thing to practice when you know you're not getting hit. You step on the football field preseason, they want to hit you. And I think getting that rust off a little bit could be very valuable for Michael Penix, which is why I do want to see him for a couple drives. Probably a quarter, though. That's just me. I know some people might feel a little bit different. But we will see Easton Stick, who is a quarterback who's bounced around the league. He's played in 6 games, mostly with the Los Angeles Chargers, QB3 on this football squad. Just not much that I feel confident about here. I'm not going to try to make a big deal out of a QB3. It's not like Atlanta has a developmental guy. I would not label Easton Stick as a developmental guy. We've seen enough of him. They have their young guy. They have their veteran backup for now. We'll see if Stick can show us enough over the preseason here where he earns a 53-man roster spot. Maybe the Falcons try to cut him and keep him on the practice squad. But he's certainly not guaranteed to make the 53-man. But it's important, because if he goes out there and plays extremely well, then maybe he does earn a 53-man roster spot. And I know we're talking QB3 battle here potentially, and that might not be the most interesting thing. But this is what the NFL is. This is how important the preseason is. And we got to monitor and react, which we will have full breakdowns of that. So make sure you do subscribe. Which is why we'll get to the final topic on today's show, which is another position battle. This is the secondary in Atlanta. Atlanta, sorry, folks, obviously has a very good QB or CB1. But the question is, where does everyone else stand? Well, there's a battle to be that nickel corner for this Falcons defense. Dee Alford, who has been the nickel corner for the past couple of years, is getting pushed by the rookie that you drafted in the middle rounds in Billy Bowman Jr. Bowman played safety at Oklahoma, but the Falcons drafted a couple safeties in this draft. So that originally, when it happened in April, intrigued me a lot. But maybe the plan the whole time was to have Bowman potentially play nickel. I would certainly label him as a coverage safety more than one of those guys that's going to get in the box and help stop the run. So maybe this is what the plan from this organization was the entire time. And ESPN shared some training camp notes on an article earlier today. Dan Graziano on the rookie from Oklahoma, saying that he is turning heads in camp. The plan to use him in a nickel cornerback role and his performance this offseason has them excited about the kind of impact player he can become in the pros. So it almost feels like momentum is gaining for Bowman to potentially really be that nickel corner. Now, I do think Dee Alford is probably still the starter if we had to play a real regular season game this upcoming weekend. It's his job to lose, but it's hard to deny Bowman, a highly touted safety when he was in college, and a early day 3 draft pick. If he continues the ball in practice, he goes out and puts 3 really good games together on film in the preseason, well, then maybe Atlanta's coaching staff does ultimately give him a shot to be that nickel corner. So I'm fascinated. Bowman's a versatile safety who obviously has a chance to play nickel as well. So I'm intrigued by this. But I mentioned it. The Falcons drafted a couple safeties in last April. The other one being Notre Dame's Xavier Watts. And I thought Watts was a great pick for Atlanta. He was my favorite safety in the second round, and the Falcons were able to scoop him up, which is why I was so stunned when Bowman was ultimately selected in the fourth round. But hey, how can you go wrong with just taking the best player available, which I believe Bowman certainly was in that fourth round. But when you have two safeties that you draft in the same class, both performing well in training camp, turning some heads and vying for starting spots, that is going to make you very, very happy. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up taking over in that secondary with a starting role. So I'm very excited to see these young safeties play in the preseason. If Watts is able to continue to put good reps together, like I mentioned, that my guy Billy Bowman could potentially do, maybe Fuller gets replaced and Xavier Watts is that starting safety opposite of Jesse Bates. Also, you got to keep an eye on DeMarco Hellams. I don't care. I love him. 7th round pick from 3 years ago, 2022, I think it was. Absolutely loved DeMarco Hellams out of Alabama at the time. I'm convinced that he would have had a larger role if he never got hurt in his rookie season. All right, fun little end of the show here. Raheem Morris tried to line up a corner today against Drake London, and Drake London put him on the deck. I mean, is he running sprints after practice? I don't know. I love when the coaches get involved and put the physicality on. You see Mike Vrabel do it all the time, getting the pads on with the offense, the defensive linemen, the linebackers. I just think it adds to his ability to lead. And I'm not going to look too deep into it, but I just think players love it. They know that your coach, the guy that's leading you in and out of battle every week, is locked in every step of the way with you and wants to see you be the most successful player and person you can be. I think it just speaks to how when Atlanta hired Raheem Morris, there were a lot of question marks after being the DC in Los Angeles, but his character, his leadership, we saw a good, I think, year from Morris last year. I'm hoping to see another year is him as this head coach in Atlanta. Small, but I think it's really nice. That'll do it for this episode of Falcons Today. Appreciate everybody tuning in here. We have a great crew here at the channel, so make sure you continue to subscribe because we're going to update you no matter who it is on the latest around this football team.